I fly the ship. I review the episode. I'm Mark. I review the episode. I'm Erica. I fly the ship. Let's fly this ship. Who am I? What do I do?
You are Lieutenant Mark. You fix the ship.
Oh. I fix the ship?
You fix the ship.
What does that mean?
Please press the bright red button in front of you to re-engage the forward deflector array.
I just have to press this button? Okay. That was a close one. Are you a lotus eater? Am I a lotus eater? What happens when you eat the lotus? If you ate the lotus, would you remember that you ate it? For those who don't know, this episode is called Among the Lotus Eaters. Apparently, according to Greek mythology, a lotus eater is someone who partakes of a lotus plant. That is, they ingest it. Allegedly, this caused euphoria, listlessness, apathy, malaise. A bad combination. But you can see how it can run away on you. How you can start to like it. Did I start to like this episode? We'll find out in this review. But let's just say, I liked it a little less on repeat viewings. However, this episode is my favorite thus far. I'll explain why in the coming moments. I'm Lieutenant Mark, and let's see what's going on with Star Trek Strange New World Season 2, Episode 4. Among the Lotus Eaters. We're approaching the halfway mark. So far, I'm not quite enjoying this season as much as the last one, but I don't want to sell it short yet. Maybe we got 6 bangers coming up. Who knows? That's more than enough messing around. Let's see what's going on in this episode. Let's eat them lotuses, shall we? This episode begins with Pike, Batel, the romantic couple. I'm a captain, you're a captain, star-crossed lovers amongst the stars. Can we really make love work on the battlefield of space? Not much of a battlefield. I was hoping this episode wouldn't turn into a complete war zone. I'm glad it didn't really, speaking of battles. And we're cooking. What is it with Pike and cooking? I don't know. Are we going to get a totally cooking-based episode? It's not as crazy as you think. And it wouldn't be an insult to tomatoes. This is literally a line that Pike uses. Are you making your mother's sauce? Anything else would be an insult to tomatoes. I didn't write this dialogue. Don't blame me. It's not that bad. Maybe I need to get off my high horse for a moment and just learn to enjoy the ride. As I mostly did with this episode. Batel and Pike, they go to kiss. They go, what? Oh. Captain Pike, you're needed to do X, Y, and Z. Batel, you're needed for this. We're making a course correction. Are you really that busy as a captain? Can't your XO handle it? Can't you just tell your XO, hey, I'm going to have some romantic time with the captain of this other ship. Could you please handle everything from here? I'm going to go see the captain of the Cayuga, which appears to be a Constitution class? Maybe? It looks a lot like one. However, last season we had a Sombra class, which looked just like Constitution, but wasn't for some reason. So I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. It's not working out. Pike gets a gift from Batel. She says it's from Galt. I guess it's an ornament that you wear around your neck, like a necklace, an emblem that is allegedly supposed to guide you home. If you're a sailor, it brings you home. Maybe that's important. Pike gets this gift from Batel, but what does he give in return? I think we should pull back a little bit on this relationship. It's not really working out. Pike, what are you doing? I knew this was wrong the second he said it. Don't do that. Don't say, hey, maybe we should take it easy. Bad idea. That's a bad idea, Pike. Sorry. Important message coming through. You can see Pike go from ho-hum. There's a special message for you, Pike, from Command. It's important. It has to do with Rigel 7. And then you can see him just go. And that's exactly what my eyes did. Rigel 7, I remember that from somewhere. Rigel 7 was a planet that was mentioned, brought up, shown in the Cage and or the Menagerie, TOS stuff. It's a place we've been to before. I wish it wasn't. As you'll see in the way this episode works out, the nature of the planet is important to the plot, and it was never brought up before. Rigel 7 has been visited. It's been name dropped multiple times across all of Star Trek. A popular place, if you will. Never before have we heard about the issues concerning this planet to this regard. Maybe just make it a different planet. Maybe just invent something else out of nowhere to say we just were there 5 years ago. Why not? It wouldn't have hurt the plot at all. Why did it have to be Rigel 7? Hey, I remember Rigel 7. I don't remember it being like this. We were there in a routine mission. It went awry. We lost 4 or 3 crew members. I can't remember which. Horrific either way. And we show their faces on the screen. That's how I know one of these characters didn't die. And there's something special about them. Why show their faces? We're in the briefing room looking at the people we lost. And Starfleet has done us the courtesy of letting the Enterprise go back and fix the Enterprise's mistakes from when they were there 5 years ago. They left behind 3 people. They were declared deceased. One problem. Super high altitude orbital scans, if you will, of this planet revealed Starfleet emblems, like dug into the hedgework of plants. Uh-oh, we left something behind. We better clean it up. We didn't just leave behind dead bodies, we left behind some gear. And how did you not know? Like, you went down, you knew what you went down with. Tricorder. We went down with a medical tricorder. We went down with communicators. We went down with maybe these jackets. We went down with some phasers. Did you record that? If Starfleet forgot anything serious like that on this planet, and they did, they probably would have addressed this 5 years ago, like the next day. Like, leaving behind Starfleet technology is a big deal. You have to go back and get it immediately. You do not wait 5 years. Bit of a hole. There's a few holes in this episode. It's not exactly Swiss cheese, and it's not exactly enough to completely ruin the experience for me. But there's a few changes you could have made here to improve this that boggles the mind why they didn't. Maybe we'll get into that sooner or later, but we need to go down there and figure out what's going on with the tech we probably left behind. How did they know what the Starfleet emblem was? Why is it showing up on this planet? Let's check it out. These things are important, and I like a good Prime Directive episode. I like a good episode about contaminating planets and trying to resolve that. I like episodes that kind of, show us doing our job, cleaning things up. I enjoy that. So I was primed to enjoy this episode. Who are we taking with us? We can't take guns. We can't take new tech. Spock mocked up some items that are congruent with the tech level at that time. Bronze Age, they said, I believe. And who do we take with us? Well, we take M'Benga and Leanne. Bam, bam, bam. We saw them sparring last episode, and Pike probably saw it too. And he's like, "Hey, you guys looking pretty cool. You guys are coming with me next time. I need to punch some guys in the head." And I can't say I disagree. Maybe that's who I would take. I would take Leanne and M'Benga. Sadly, we couldn't take Ortegas. Ortegas was all gung-ho to go, dressed up. She said her hat was Supreme, whatever that means. You need a cool pilot to fly down through that dense atmosphere that's blocking our sensors. Well, not so. Spock discovered that in order to stay on the orbital plane of this planet, we're going to have to maneuver around a debris field created by 2 moons crashing into each other. Ortegas, you're going to have to stay on the prize. Enterprise, that is. And you're going to have to fly it around here and make sure we don't, get out of contact in some really serious way. Keep us close. I know you guys probably wanted the Erica Ortegas episode, and I'm sad to say this isn't it. Call it presumptuous, but I think that maybe this episode was slapped with a thin veneer of Eric Ortegas at the beginning and at the end. She gets the win at the end, but she wasn't really along for the journey. The thematic core and plot and intrigue took place on the planet side, not on the Enterprise. Sadly, this was not the Eric Ortegas-centric episode I wanted, although it was trying to be. You'll see why in a moment, or maybe you already know if you've watched it. Surely you've noticed. Erica gets to stay behind. Pike and Benga and Leanne go down, and they look cool. Leanne looks really cool. The new hairdo and stuff, it really suited her. I thought it looked pretty cool. Although that's totally subjective and is not a factor in this review. I do think sometimes characters look cooler when they play dress-up. Vox comes to mind from Picard Season 3. I thought it looked actually cooler than Jack Crusher. Hey, I think you got an upgrade. You must be on one of those TV shows where they take you and they make you look all different, and then you get to compare. Oh, here, you look like this ugly sewer mutant before. Now you're new hotness. In this case, Leanne looks like someone from the Bronze Age. Is that new hotness or old and busted? I don't know. On the surface of the planet, we land. Don't hide the shuttle. I don't know what's up with that. The shuttle's just landed there. We get out. This is really good. I like when our point of view is unreliable in order to demonstrate the feelings the characters are happening on screen. This planet makes you forget. It makes you disoriented. It makes you not know what you're doing. How do we get that across to the viewer? In a split second, we've walked 6 hours away from the shuttle. They specifically show a shot where you should be able to see the shuttle, and I was looking for the shuttle. Wait a minute, where's the shuttle? They just got out. Bang. 6 hours have gone by. You can't see the shuttle. And you were embodying the point of view of Leanne in that moment. So this is a great example of taking the audience along with the feelings of our characters, even though their narration or point of view is unreliable. It's a great way to do it, and it's a great way to draw me in. I was buckled in as soon as that happened. We've walked for 6 hours. Leanne doesn't know. They could have walked for 5 minutes. It feels the same to her. We only walked for 6 hours. We can walk back, and Benga says, nah, let's go with it. In his medical opinion, we're moving forward, and that's what we're going to do. Oh no. I spy with my little eye. These guys have phasers. Yeah, these guys forgot the phasers. And you didn't come back for 5 years. That's trouble. That's like, that's some demerits for you guys. Sorry to say. But we're caught bringing a spoon to a gunfight. And we're walked into the palace like fugitives. Where we meet Zach. The character that was left behind 5 years ago. The yeoman. I saw the shuttle. I was the yeoman on the Enterprise. Of course I know what happened. And he is vindictive. He is out for revenge. He is not unlike Khan in Star Trek II. You marooned me here. You thought I died. Well, I didn't. I managed to survive, and I've armed everyone with weapons, and they worship me because of all this technology I know how to use. Surprised you didn't have a mutineer in your ranks there, but you managed to get away with it. I'll give you that one, Zach, but you're also kind of a villain. And our characters get sent outside the palace to do backbreaking labor with the field Kalar. The Kalar are the people of this planet. The mythology of this planet established since an asteroid struck this planet thousands of years ago and caused radiation to permeate the atmosphere that results in forgetting. The forgetting, they call it. First, it starts with the ringing in your ear that Leanne experienced. Then you get confused. Then you don't know who you are. And then all you know is the day you're living in now. You're living for the moment. They tell you that in self-help books, just live for the moment. This is a critique on that. And thematically, I was along for the ride in that regard. That's interesting, you know? Many people tell you to live for the moment. Maybe that's not a good idea. Maybe it's good to plan things out. Maybe it's good to have memories, even if they're bad. When you watch this episode with that as the thematic base point, you can kind of see where they're coming from with a lot of this stuff. You can kind of see how you could maybe get more out of it than you otherwise would, just interpreting it as a bland action story. that's where I'm coming from with this. That's why you're probably going to find that I enjoy it maybe more than you did. I enjoy it maybe more than other reviewers, and it's my favorite episode so far this season. That's not saying a lot. So far this season has been weak. Our characters are suffering from the forgetting. We wake up in a cage, but this is to protect us. The old man, who we know as Luke, my headcanon kind of dictates that maybe he's a wrangler. Like, he's there to look after people who have had bad forgettings. He's older. If I were Zach, if I were High Lord Zach, as he calls himself, I would maybe be using him as a go-between between Field Kalar and myself. That's why I got the impression that he had some sway over the guards. The palace guards who aren't experiencing forgetting will kind of use him to wrangle the people who have had bad forgettings or have just started their journey on the forgettings. That's kind of how I felt. That's kind of how I justified how he was able to have some sway, have some power, have some leeway here. If you're wondering, when you watch this the first time, he explains to us that we had a difficult forgetting. The forgetting is a result of the natural state of this planet. You forget what happened yesterday. You live only for today. Be in the moment. Do as I do. Break the rocks. Chop the wood. The work is actually a blessing. If we didn't have the work, we'd go crazy, right? I can kind of see where he's coming from. If you're running around like a chicken with your head cut off, living only for the moment, you might do something very dangerous. But if you have your mind focused on the work, as menial as it is, maybe you won't lose your mind? I don't know. It's hard to say. I've never been in a situation where I had no long-term memory. Or short-term. What qualifies as short or long? I don't know. But our characters aren't having that. It's explained that the forgetting removes fine details. It doesn't remove emotion. Things like love. Things like muscle memory. So our characters are able to easily waylay these guards. We're able to just wham bam, thank you ma'am, these guards. Not without Leanne getting struck with a sword. Cut her open. We see blood. I was surprised. I'm getting used to our characters kind of being invincible in Star Trek lately, but Leanne gets sliced open. What are we going to do? This totally changes the dynamic. We have to figure this out. The old guy, Luke, is nice enough to take us to his hut, where he shows us his totem. That's important. Remember the word totem. His totem is what he sees every day when he wakes up. That way he can remember things, right? He's also been gifted with an item that allows him to tattoo his body. He can tattoo words onto his arm. So that's how he knows his name is Luke. Very handy thing to have if you have no memory. Writing on yourself is a good idea, and viewing this totem is a good idea. It tells the story of the Kalar. However, it also reveals that some people in the palace remember for us, and we do the work. It sounds like it's lopsided, but Luke explains that, well, they do the job of remembering so that we can be free. An interesting idea here, isn't it? We're establishing that the workers are actually free because they don't have the pain of yesterday. Kind of interesting. It's a little bit novel. Having an episode where all our characters forget. I've seen it before in TNG, but using it as a critique of living in the moment, I can't say I've really been exposed to a lot of that. So just on novelty alone, I'm inclined to enjoy this episode. Listen, just let Leanne die. You're going to forget anyway. But then Pike says, oh no, we have to help her. I feel like I have to help her. And Mbenga feels like he has to help her because Mbenga is remembering kind of being a doctor somehow. The muscle memory of helping people, right? The muscle memory of being the captain, being a pilot, being a doctor. I can see that you're living in the moment. Luke says, if this is your moment, I'll help you. And they do try to help Leanne. What this culminates in is trying to take Leanne to the palace because there is a legend that our memories are stored in a casket in the palace. You and I know that doesn't make sense, but they don't know, right? You see, our characters are suffering from the forgetting. We know what they forgot. They don't know what they forgot, which is a very bad way to be. It's one thing to not know something. It's a whole other thing entirely to not know what you don't know. And that's dangerous. So we need to fix that. But Leanne has to get left behind. Ticking clock element. Leanne's going to die. If we don't get back in there quickly and and remember what it means to be doctors and such, Leanne's going to be gone. I have an inkling that I'm a doctor, and Mbenga has to go into that palace, get his memories back. Pike and Mbenga have to leave Leanne behind. Sorry, but we reveal that Luke has actually inked over some names on his hand. There's memories he doesn't want to get back. You see, we respect that. As a viewer, I respect that. I'm willing to leave Luke alone. Pike and Mbenga are on an adventure into that palace. We're going to get that casket. Somehow we get past the guards. Mbenga gets phasered in the leg. Sadly, we have to leave Mbenga behind. And it's just Pike versus Zach. Pike walks in, grabs a platter, uses it to deflect a phaser blast. It's a good thing he didn't have that set to disintegrate. Because it just reflects off. And this is an energy weapon. So it is prone to reflection. However, you're really testing the limits of that platter there, right? Because even the shiniest mirrors you've ever seen are not 100% mirrors. They can be like 99.9%. But that 0.1% is still absorbed as heat into the surface of the object. And for a phaser blast like that, I still think it would blow that platter to pieces and probably kill Pike. But let's just say that Zach had it on a very low setting because he didn't want to kill Pike because Pike is his former captain. Maybe his idea of revenge doesn't go that deep. Maybe we're not cutting him enough slack. This planet takes away your ability to reason. It sheds away the upper layers. It reveals who you really are. One would hope that's not true with Pike, though, because Pike almost kills Zach, and he's just beating him. And I was a little bit awkward feeling about it. I didn't really like it. I hope that shearing off the veneer of reason has not revealed that Pike is secretly that much of a murderous madman. I was a little bit spooked by it, but we'll give it a pass for now. That casket, it's just a myth. It's just a myth. Why didn't he just tell you that being in the palace gives you your memory back? Of course there's no casket that gives you your memories back. Zach was about to die. Why didn't he just say, relax, wait a moment, your memories will come back? Instead, he regaled him of a tale about how that's just a myth, there's no casket, you believe that. Just tell him that being in the palace restores your memories. He goes through the casket. It's just a box of different Starfleet supplies. I don't know what any of this is. Tricorder, what is it? Blah, blah, blah. And then the memories just come back anyway. And then he reverts from forgetting Pike to being, I remember Pike. He goes back to being the captain, like a light switch. And you can see it in his face. You can see it in the performances. May I add, the performances in this episode were fantastic. They were acting circles around some previous crews we've seen that maybe weren't as hot in the acting department. They really did a lot with okay to subpar material. They really sold it. They're doing their job well. I can have no complaints about the performance of this episode. I love Mbenga. Erica was fantastic. Pike was good. Leanne was good. What can I say? Well, what I can say is that the memories came back and Luke ended up coming back. Luke remembered his family. I'm sorry, Luke. Thankfully, it wasn't that tragic. We can say that. You lost your family, but at least you don't have a memory of getting both of your legs cut off and then surgically reattached or something insane like that. I guess we got lucky. Don't worry about it, Luke. Your family's gone, but hey, it's going to be alright. So that was Luke's memory that he forgot that he got back by just being in the palace. And you can really feel it. It's not in the literal text of the episode, but I can feel that Leanne got her bad memories back about her life being, a con, if we can say that. Mbenga got the memory back probably of his daughter, and Pike probably got the memory back of his own future. It was good for a moment, but sometimes living with old bad memories can better set the foundation for creating new good ones. That was not in the text of this episode, but it's something I felt in my heart as I watched this. I watch these shows with my heart and with my mind, as I think everybody should. I think they're written for that intention, so I'm willing to watch it with that intention as well. I'll do them the decency. B plot, right? Everybody's forgetting on the Enterprise. Uhura gets it first. She's listening in. Her brain is attuned to these things. Maybe that's how she got it first. Her brain is being melted by the radiation field coming off the debris in orbit here. It slowly spreads to all the characters, all officers, all crew. And we see disturbing shots that creep me out of walking around on the Enterprise with people wandering around like zombies. I was kind of freaked out by that, let me tell you. But Erica has an important job in this ship. She flies the ship. We've already established that this is going to be a difficult flight for the Enterprise to stay inside the orbital plane, to stay close to the planet. What are we going to do when our pilot is forgetting? Complicated, isn't it? Spock comes up with this idea to give everybody pads that just say who they are so they can remind themselves who they are and what their job is. Hopefully leave the rest up to muscle memory and feeling. Although you'll note that Spock mentions multiple times that feelings are not fact or emotions are not fact, which is an interesting subtext to this episode, establishing the idea that this plot is like the anti-Spock. Right? We don't have logic anymore. We can only go on feeling, which is something Spock should not be able to do or shouldn't want to do. He can, but it's a reverse Spock we're pulling this episode. Didn't come fully to fruition. Spock didn't get a lot to do in this episode. Methinks it would have been a little bit bloated, so I'm kind of happy we didn't get it. Our B plot was supposed to be Erica's story, and I'm glad Spock didn't take away from what little we did get from Erica. At least that's my feeling. I personally, if I were Spock, I would have maybe said, everybody report to quarters, sit in your quarters, and the computer will be made to remind you of who you are every 15 minutes. Maybe that could have alleviated some problems. Who knows, maybe by this time Spock was even having this problem. We know later that Spock cannot read. The pad is useless to him. He has forgotten how to read, which is odd, because the characters on the planet who are living amongst this radiation, like Luke, can still read, because he can write on his arm and still read. How come he can still read, but Spock can't? Any explanation would be much appreciated in the comments if you knew why or have some kind of headcanon reason that makes sense. I don't know, but I thought it was a contrivance to make sure Spock could not explain to Erica who she was. Because if Spock could read the pad, people would expect him to have a good speech, right? And then Erica would have no reason to self-discover who she is, limiting Erica's agency in solving the plot, the B plot. That's my reason for why they made it so he couldn't read. I don't know if that's the case. Erica has to leave the bridge. She doesn't know what she's doing. I have to get out of here. Take me home. Apparently the computer knows what that means. Follow the illuminated path. An amusing scene in the turbo lift. And a spooky, scary, endearing scene in her quarters. She gets to her quarters. This feels right. But there's asteroids and things hitting the Enterprise. What are we going to do? Major miscalculation on behalf of the creators of this episode. Maybe they filmed this scene but had to cut it for time. On more than one occasion in this episode, you can see the gold model of the Enterprise sitting on her desk in her quarters. It keeps looking at it. Remember the totem. Totems. Luke, on the planet, had a totem to remind him. On the planet also, Pike had the necklace. That's a totem. It reminded him of a past that he's losing. It reminded him of the emotion, of the love. Not the literal. What is Erica's totem? It's the Enterprise. It's the Enterprise model. Reaching out for help from anybody, like grabbing a teddy bear or something like that, she should have grabbed the Enterprise model and held on to it to remember that she is the pilot. Instead, the computer just tells her that she's the pilot. Breaking with the theme of the totem of this episode. Did they not think of that? They showed the Enterprise multiple times. I have to imagine that there was originally a scene where Erica was grabbing the model of the Enterprise to regain her muscle memory of being a pilot. But it's not there. It's like it's like we're missing this magical puzzle piece that would complete this episode and make it feel right, but it's gone. And now that I've mentioned it, you're probably going to know too. You're probably going to watch it again and say, oh wow, it really felt like she was supposed to grab that model. But she didn't. She gets back her memory once the computer just tells her who she is, which is what the computer should have been doing for everybody. Right? See what I mean? There's like just some weird plot holes in this episode that kind of keep it from being great. That could have been fixed. A few rewrites. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Maybe we had to cut these scenes for time. I don't know. But I think it needs it. It needs that through line. It needs the totems for our characters. Erica needed a totem. Her totem is the model. She gets back to the bridge anyway. I fly the ship. I fly the ship. I review the episode. I'm Mark. I review the episode. I'm Erica. I fly the ship. Let's fly this ship. And she flies it. A beautiful scene. Fantastic single frames of the Enterprise phasering 2 beams through the asteroid field and then flying through a large rock because they don't have time to go around it. I don't love big Starfleet ships being super maneuverable. That's not my thing. I like when these ships are slow, carrier-style ships that don't move that much. I didn't have that huge of a problem with it. They do explain that they don't have time to go around it. I didn't really need to see the flip, but it was visually cool. It was just a little something in this episode for people who need to see ships. A little something sprinkled on for me. I appreciate that. Just seeing a ship. Call me crazy. So we're away from this asteroid field. We're getting to safety. And hey, Pike, what's that thing around your necklace? This is back on the surface. Someone gave this to me. Someone that I gotta apologize to. We could have had the cue music that plays at the end of a TOS episode when things are all solved and everybody's laughing. Right there. I don't think we got it though, sadly. Things are patched up between Batel and Pike. Listen, I was wrong before. And he uses that corny line. I would have cut it. I don't deserve you. Cornball, just by the numbers, garbage line. I don't deserve you. By the way, thanks for giving me this thing to have to remember you by around this neck. It really helped me sail home. Which was the design of this necklace anyway. It's designed to bring sailors home on some planet called Galt. I don't know. Be that as it may, Pike and Batel are back together. Everything's hunky-dory. And we get to see, back on the bridge, are you sure this isn't a violation of the Prime Directive? I'm not sure either, Spock, but Pike's idea is to remove that asteroid that's causing the forgetting on the surface of this planet and fling it back into the asteroid field where it belongs. And with some fancy flying from Erica, 2 shuttles tractor beam up the asteroid. The Enterprise grabs it, flings it back where it belongs. Methinks maybe an asteroid hit is natural development? I don't know. I'm going to file that into the maybe category. I want to say they shouldn't have done that. But here we are. Here we are. We've just got rid of that asteroid that causes the forgetting. What's going to happen now? I don't know. We already ruined this planet by leaving behind phasers and stuff. How much more are we really ruining it by removing the forgetting? I don't know. Was the forgetting, the totems, the palace, that kind of thing, was that part of their culture? Did you just remove their culture? It looks stupid to you, but is that stuff stupid to them? These are the questions we have to ask ourselves when we talk about Prime Directive issues. That's how our episode ends. On a creepy question about what if we just did something bad. That's how I like to end a Star Trek episode. So, if you're willing to go along with the theme, which is present, and if you're willing to put up with kind of a corny, half-baked Erica Ortegas plot, what you get here is a decently fun episode that, for me, kept me engaged the whole time. I was wondering what was in that casket. I knew it couldn't store your memories, but I was wondering. I was there for the journey. You know, musically, nothing to write home about. I didn't get a lot of good TOS jingles. I didn't get a lot of triumphant marches. The music just kind of disappeared for me, which is sad. Visually, a cool shot of the Enterprise. We got some cool flybys. It was pretty cool being down on Rigel. However, the inside of that palace, I saw some artwork that looked distinctly Earth-like. I must say, things I distinctly remember from Earth. That's right, I've been to Earth. Maybe Zach put it there just because he thought it was Earth-like and it reminded him of home. I don't know, maybe it's a recreation. Who knows? Visually, in the middle, high middle, we're doing alright there. Musically, like I said, nothing to write home about. Thematically, there's some novelty here. Like I explained before, if you listen to this review, is it good to live in the moment? Is it good just to live for today? Maybe not. You don't often hear people telling you this, but this episode, I think, in a manner of speaking, is establishing that idea. Also, we have the theme of the reverse Spock. Can we rely on our emotions and not wholly on fact? Can emotions win the day? Is that something you want to see in Star Trek? Regardless of what you think about that, it's present. So thematically, it's not a 0. Thematically, it's actually doing alright. It could have done a little better, but I'm glad for what we got. Plot-wise, holes. Could have used a few rewrites. For the reasons I outlined in this review, go back and watch it if you want to get the full details. So we're winning on a few fronts, losing on a few others. For me, this, like I often say, does get to the finish line. I may rewatch it. It's my favorite episode so far. At this point, in Season 1, we were doing better. It's kind of sad. I'm going to have to go ahead and give this episode a decently solid 5.5. If you know me, that's an average review for me. That's not horrible. Other people would say 5.5, you think it sucks? No. I just think the modern review scale is totally inflated. Not to get too detailed in that regard, not to derail this review any further and talk about that stuff. With that out of the way, I'm Lieutenant Mark. I think I may have just consumed a lotus or just breathed in some dust from that weird asteroid, and I'm having a forgetting. Who are you? Who am I? Maybe I'll see you next week for another episode, if I can get my memory back. See you next time.